Internet! Ladies, gentlemen, objects, and automatons, it's me again, here to talk about stuff. You may notice something different about me. I shaved a bit. If you don't, you probably haven't seen my videos before, which is also fine, because that puts you pretty much with everyone else. The last video got a lot of views, which was really nice of Amazing Spidey Girl to plug the video on her Tumblr. Again, even if you don't want to watch me blather on it, her blog posts are generally a good read when she wants them to be, and otherwise it's random internet social media posts, which I've never really gotten the whole swing of. I'm an old man, what the fuck do you want? Your kids today and your technology. I find shit posting terribly amusing. I don't actually think I could do it. Not my nature. Anyway, we're a minute in. I haven't gotten to the fucking point yet. The fucking point today is, again, going to be kind of a talk. Mixing stuff I've seen happening and writing. And today we're going to talk about a video game character's butt. Keep seeing stuff move outside the window. If you don't know, Blizzard has a game coming out, I think, called Overwatch. It's their take on the Team Fortress 2 model, but they're including a bunch of female characters, and they're making a huge deal out of the female characters, and who the fuck cares about the male characters, right? But one of the characters is a spunky sidekick type character, I guess. But in her poses, she tends to be exaggerated and have jutting hips. And some dad went on the Blizzard forum and complained because his daughter might see this game and it might confuse her about her sexuality or something, or how sexualized she could be. And therefore, Blizzard stepped in on one person's complaint to take one pose out the guy was complaining about, which is a pose looking at the character's ass as they look over their shoulder. Every character has that pose, but her hips jutting, which is drawing attention to her ass. Now, there are a lot smarter and better people than me bringing up the idea, like, if you think of looking at a woman from behind is sexually objectifying, then why the fuck are you staring at her ass? Things like that. And then the one that bothers me is the argument from agency. And this goes back to Spider-Woman and that whole debacle, and again, comic books, because, again, old school comic book fan. Yeah, Starbucks, what of it? But the idea that a sexy character wouldn't dress that way because a real woman wouldn't dress that way. Meanwhile, we have cosplayers dropping out of the sky to dress like whatever the fuck kind of sexy characters they can find. I'm going to link below to an image, the original blog that image came from, and another idea someone had written on writing characters, character agency specifically, and I'm also going to link to the Geek Feminism Wiki definition of agency because it is goddamn stupid. They define agency. Agency is the ability for a person or agent to act for himself or herself. They say herself or himself. A person who is not allowed to act for her or himself is lacking in agency, or is said to have been denied agency. In geek circles, women, real and fictional, often lack agency compared to their male counterparts. Well, part of this goes back to what we talked about last time. Male characters are allowed to do whatever especially white male characters are allowed to do whatever the fuck they want without having an outcry of racism, sexism, villainy, misogyny, rape culture, patriarchy. But that fictional, in parentheses next to real. Let's be clear before we get into anything else. None of your characters have agency in the way they define it. none of your characters, nothing you ever write or create in any medium, has actual agency. They cannot act on their own because they don't fucking exist. And if you don't understand that, if this seems like an alien nebulous concept from beyond the dawn of time, you shouldn't be anywhere near any fiction. Not video games, not movies, not TV, not books, not poems, not fucking make-believe, not kindergarten fucking classrooms. Get the fuck away from anything with imagination, because you can't define the line between the two. That said, if you're still here, your characters have agency. Let's put that in huge fucking dick quotes. Agency of a character is the perceived ability to act versus not act. A character with agency in a fictional work acts. A character without agency is acted upon. So if you want to have a character with agency, they make their own decisions and go their own way. Even if it's just a couple times, and the rest of the time they're getting dragged around by their dick, like a lot of times in fantasy stories. Prophesied Chosen One stories, those characters tend to lack all agency, and then you just have a fucking meat hook through their goddamn genitals and just be pulled through the story. I've played too many role-playing games where I got dragged through the story for me to really have a good feeling about railroading. A character without agency, again, dick finger agency, they wait for the story to happen. They're not involved specifically with the story. A character with agency involves himself with the story. Again, we go back to the idea of a Mary Sue. Mary Sues tend to lack agency. They tend to basically wait for the story to happen and then be reactive to the story, oftentimes allowing characters with agency to step in and defend them while they stay the main character. Where again, the most important character in your story should be the one with the most interesting story to tell. That's the first time I've said that, so I'm going to take back that again. But when it comes to sexiness, I agree to an extent with a lot of the people shitting bricks all over the internet every time there's a new character who shows up with, huge tits, tiny waist, huge ass in a spandex 4 sizes too small. I agree on one regard. Their character has to be someone who'd put that on, or the story has to provide a reason why they would dress that way. But the image I'm going to link is part of a larger blog. Like I said, I'm going to include that blog. They make the point that if a writer is creating the character, they can't dress that sexy because the character can't consent to it. Again, we're going to go into fucking baby talk territory for the absolutely dumbest dipshit demographic. So apologies if you have a functioning goddamn brain and are able to reason things like a goddamn adult. Fictional characters cannot consent to anything in a story. If your argument is about consent, then all writers who've ever written a sex scene are rapists. Male or female, just all of them are rapists because none of those characters could consent. Especially fanfiction, because that's not even your creation. That's someone else's creation you've decided to have bone. That's stupid as fuck. That is... That's just fucking retarded. It is retarded in every goddamn conceptual sense of the word. it is mentally or physically deficient, and it is slowed to fuck. Fictional characters cannot consent, except by the nature of their characterization. Characterization, as is everything about anything that has a description in a story, characterization is fucking key. If your character is a spunky character, how do you convey that visually, especially if you have no fucking story, as is the case of Overwatch that I know of? You have them take poses that are traditionally, again, archetypally, seen as spunky. Going back to the idea we had on shorthand. A female character who stands with their hip jutted out and a smile tends to be seen as kind of a fun character, a fun person. So, if this character is supposed to be fun, that's a good visual shorthand. The same as if you have a character splitting their tongue in half with the goddamn knife, that's a good visual shorthand. That motherfucker's messed the fuck up. They couldn't consent to that, though. So if that's a female character, you've just committed assault. But male characters, again, we're going to knock back to that last one. Male characters, absolutely cool. That's stupid. Every character can suffer. Every character can be weakened. Every character can go through hardships. That's the fucking point of them. Every character in a story is there to further the story. If they're not, then they're extraneous. They're unnecessary. If this character exists just so you can have a cameo from your favorite actor for some reason, they are unnecessary. Unless there's going to be a callback later. That's it. But agency, consent, these aren't real fucking people. But, now that I've laid the groundwork for the fuck you part, I agree on one concept. Write your characters so they would consent. So they would have agency and still do this. If you want a female character who runs around in goddamn lingerie and fights crime, give us a goddamn justification for why they're wearing lingerie and fighting crime. You know, iconography, powered by the sun like Starfire. It's a reason why she is always in scantily clad outfits. They built in the idea she's powered by the sun, and now the fucking comic blogs bitch every time they give her a scanty costume, and it's like, now her skin absorbs sunlight. Yeah, it's dumb, but I mean, technically so does Cyclops and Havoc. They're not running around in thongs, but now, does that mean I think only female characters should be dressed sexy? No, I think your setting, whatever your justification is, you should have both. If you have a world, though, where everyone's running around in fucking tight bodysuits that cleft to ass cracks, and that offends you, stop going there. If you're offended by the way superheroes dress, maybe stop hanging out reading superheroes. If you're offended by this or that, stop being around the stuff that offends you, unless you're willing to be challenged on it. Kind of lost the plot of this whole thing, but we're going to press on. But yeah, consent, agency, they're a fiction when it comes to fiction. Sound like a goddamn catchphrase. None of your characters can act on their own. They all act with your permission, with your decisions, with your actions, taking into consideration why they do that, and then giving the audience an establishment for the more outlandish things will establish a greater fourth wall when your character performs other outlandish things. I'm trying to think of, like when they tried to write in the justification for the boob window on Power Girl, the idea that, you know, she had been Supergirl in her world, but now she feels like she has no home. She doesn't belong here, so she takes off the S and leaves her cleavage. It's scanty justification, but it is actually a justification, and it could be delved into deeper. On that justification, though, if she ever basically comes to terms with the idea that this is her home and this is her place, you got to get rid of the boob window now, because now you've gotten rid of the justification for the boob window. So you have to keep in mind what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and most importantly, why your character is doing it, or why your world does it. It's on par with having a Conan story and just having a background scene of doing a Conan movie and having a background scene of Spider-Man walking through. You're all going to ask what the fuck that's about. Why the fuck that happened. So, explain if that's what you want to have happen. Or at least understand the explanation, because people are going to call you on it. And if you don't want to be called on something, maybe, again, fiction's not for you. Especially in this day and age where people get fucking panty twisted about a lot of stuff. But that's pretty much it. We're talking about, I think I've pretty much reached the limit on what I can talk with about agency and things like that. So we're going to let it go there. Pass it along. If you liked the video, thanks. If you didn't like the video, thanks. I don't care. None of these are monetized. So if you want to comment below, I try to respond to every comment I can. If you want to send me a fucking message, send me a message. Go nuts. Do what the fuck you want to do. However you want to fucking do it. Have a good day.